This is KGW News at Sunrise.
In North Portland, where I work, they get a green zebra and a New Seasons Market. We get a diesel transfer station. Doesn't feel equitable.
Not a lot of love for new plans to repurpose an old Northeast Portland building. Coming up on Sunrise, why neighbors are so against the idea. And today is part 3 of our 5-part series, Counseled Inside Our Schools. This morning, we're visiting West Sylvan Middle School, talking to students and following one counselor as she and her little furry co-counselor walk the hallways, what they're doing to connect teens to each other and the school.
And we're also ordering up a slice of Portland history for breakfast on this Wednesday morning. B-Saws. Man, on one hand, B-Saws has been around forever, since like 1903.
Wow, yeah.
On the other hand, they've been pretty quiet for the last couple of years. But B-Saws is back, reopened just last month, and we're taking a look from the outside in. Eventually, we'll get inside for the breakfast. It's all coming up this morning here on Sunrise.
I know that's one of your favorite places. Do you have a great go-to breakfast item?
You know what? It's been a long time. I apologize since I've been to B-Saws, but man, yeah, like 10 years ago, I went there. My wife would say too often. She would call after the show, and like there'd always be that clinking of forks and knives on the plates. But anyways, yeah, B-Saws is back. We look forward to that breakfast.
Excellent. All right, lots to talk about this morning. Not the least of which is your forecast.
Watching some snow areas to our south. Let's talk about that. This is all, for the most part, being pretty light stuff like borderline flurries at this hour. You see in green a little bit of rain south of Salem. This is flurries / snow showers in the Coast Range just south of McMinnville. But this is being driven by a disturbance that should eventually continue to lift everything farther to the north, which is the movement right now. So currently dry in Portland, but just realize there are snowflakes nearby, so we're keeping an eye on what could be a passing snow shower at some point during the early morning hours. Our Pioneer Courthouse Square camera, 36 degrees at the airport, currently 34 in downtown. It is overall a little bit chillier this morning than it has been the last couple of starts. Once we get into the afternoon, more of the same. Scattered showers, some breaks leading to maybe some hail, 43 at noon, 48 the high. Had a pretty good thunderstorm around McMinnville yesterday. That sort of thing still possible today. Back to you.
Rod, thank you. The man accused in a deadly shooting at Normandale Park last year will be back in court today, and he's expected to change his plea. Benjamin Smith is accused of opening fire on a group of protesters in the park last February. One woman died, 5 other people were hurt. During his initial court hearing last year, Smith pleaded not guilty, but the Multnomah County DA's office does expect him to enter a guilty plea today. He's facing murder and attempted murder charges. His hearing starts around 3 o'clock this afternoon. We'll let you know what happens. And there's been a bit of a social media sparring match this week between Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler and Texas Governor Greg Abbott over the closure of Walmart stores in the city. The retail giant announced last month it's closing both the Delta Park and Eastport Plaza locations, the only 2 located in Portland city limits, by the way. Walmart did not mention crime as a factor, but said the reason for the closures is primarily financial. Abbott tweeted, "This is what happens when cities refuse to enforce the rule of law. It allows the mob to take over. Businesses can't operate in that environment and people can't live in it." Mayor Wheeler fired back, asking if the dozens of Texas Walmart closures in recent years were due to not enforcing the law. He said the retail industry is changing and retail theft is a national issue. Both stores are scheduled to close in Portland on March 24th.
We're hearing from people who live in the Argay Terrace neighborhood of Northeast Portland who say they feel blindsided by plans to turn an abandoned Kmart into a giant distribution warehouse.
It'll redevelop the building that's been an eyesore since 2018, but it is not the change people living in the community have hoped for. Here's Catherine Cook to explain.
Cyclone fencing surrounds the old Kmart building on Northeast 122nd and Sandy. Looking at it now, it's tough to imagine what the property once was, but what it may become.
My concern is just for my neighbors and my community here.
Is upsetting many who live in and around this neighborhood. California-based company Prologis plans to turn the site into a 260,000 square foot freight distribution warehouse. Not quite the dream of revitalization many here have had.
And so, the idea of that being blighted by a 38 bay diesel truck transfer station just blows my mind, honestly.
Braylon Deal Erickson lives in Maywood Park, not far from the warehouse site. He started this petition on change.org opposing the warehouse project. After 1 week, nearly 3,000 people had signed it. Braylon's top concerns are pollution from all the diesel trucks and safety, especially for kids. This map shows just how close the proposed site is to Parkrose High School, Parkrose Middle School, and several sports fields. All of it right across the street.
Those fields are in use all the time.
Kate Lamb's grandkids attend Parkrose schools.
This area already has the highest levels of diesel emissions, and we just don't need any more. We are a food desert and a restaurant desert down here, for sure. And I know the community would support something like that.
Prologis hopes the community will support their vision once they learn more about it. That includes plans to spend $39 million on redeveloping the property, which they say would be LEED certified. They're also planning street improvements to increase pedestrian safety. That includes room for a 6-foot bike lane and a 6-foot sidewalk along 122nd. Prologis shared a statement with KGW that read in part, "We are making a significant investment to convert the idle, vacant site and build a modern, sustainable logistics facility that will create new jobs and support the local economy. We will continue to engage with the community on this project, which is zoned for industrial use, including any concerns around traffic, and work with the city to obtain the necessary approvals."
It's not a done deal. They can't do anything until they get the permits.
Kate and other neighbors say until that happens, they'll keep fighting plans for a warehouse and holding on to the dream of something more for where they live.
North Portland, where I work, they get a green zebra and a New Seasons Market. We get a diesel transfer station. It doesn't feel equitable.
Catherine Cook, KGW News.
Richard Gilmore, also known as the Jogger Rapist, was recently released from his 36-year prison sentence. He's now living in transitional housing in Old Town as a low-level sex offender. But his victims say he is still a danger to society. So now they're working with Oregon lawmakers on 2 bills that would require the state to do a better job of telling the public where sex offenders live.
This bill really tackles all the obstacles that we ran into.
This is not a party issue. I hope that everybody can come on board with this because this is really a community issue and a society issue.
So we mentioned there are 2 bills being discussed. The first, Senate Bill 1022, would require the state to consider almost everything when assigning a risk level to a sex offender, not just what was admissible in court. Now, when it comes to victims who ran into issues with the statute of limitations, Senate Bill 1023 would legally consider them victims, granting them access to information about their attackers if those attackers are released.
Also in the headlines this morning, the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office arrested a man accused of attacking a MAX train passenger. They say around 3 o'clock Monday afternoon, 35-year-old Johnny Moan was spotted throwing rocks at passing trains near Northeast Sandy and 33rd. Then investigators say he assaulted a passenger about an hour later. Moan is facing 16 charges, including assault and criminal mischief. The Multnomah County Medical Examiner has officially confirmed that 5 people died as a result of heat waves in July and August. That's down from 8 suspected heat-related deaths that were originally reported. Officials say 4 people died in homes with no air conditioning. 1 person was homeless. And a pretty crazy rescue to tell you about out of Lane County. A man used his drone to help search crews find him. The sheriff's office says his car got stuck in some snow on a remote forest road where he didn't have cell service. So he typed out a text to a friend explaining where he was, attached his phone to the drone. Look at that. He hit send, then launched it. That text, by the way, went through. And get this, gets even crazier. While rescue crews were on their way to save him, they ran into another driver who'd been stranded for days. And those are some of your morning headlines. Okay, before we get to our local forecast, I want you to take a look at this. Many parts of California buried in feet of snow this morning, and there's more on the way. One ski resort about 3 hours from South Lake Tahoe received 60 inches of snow over the weekend. Even so, this is nowhere near the record for the Sierra Nevada mountain range.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, I think that's nuts. It's not even close to the record. I'm like,
what
really?
is the record?
I'll show you on
Oh, okay, there you go.
Now, I wish I had the inches. I couldn't find the actual inch average. So I have a percentage, okay? Which I like inches. I always wanted more of them myself. Here's a look at our snowpack average. Or excuse me, this was a measurement. Let me back up. This measurement was taken March 3rd. So there are a gazillion reporting sites in the Sierra Nevada mountains in California. The average on March 3rd was 90% of normal. The heaviest was central and south. If you looked at all the individual sites, you'd come up with most sites being like 150% normal. Some of them are over 300% of normal. Here's what's nuts. On March 3rd, when the snowpack was measured back in 1969, it was 263% of normal. So this figure, which we know is a ton of snow, is not even close to that one. That just blows me away. Another storm coming for the weekend. Storm watches warnings already coming up for another, depending on elevation in the mountains, of 1 to 5 feet. So, I mean, maybe when it's all said and done by the end of April, we will be looking at a closer to all-time record in the Sierra Nevada mountains. Here's the storm, by the way, that forecasters are tracking coming into California over the weekend. And right now, they're already seeing some heavy rain in the Sacramento area and then still snow falling this morning currently in the Tahoe Basin of the Sierra Mountains. Here's a look at us locally. There's a disturbance that's been slowly pushing northward, driving some shower activity north with it. Right now, this is a mix of flurries, and the brighter white would be some decent snow showers in the Coast Range, kind of a rain mix around Salem. So we'll see how well that holds together as it moves up to the north, but realize we're watching a system that could bring some snowflakes to the North Valley on radar right now. All right, early morning numbers, near freezing in Salem, 34 Kelso, 36 Portland. 34 out in the Dalles. And 32 in Newport. So we are generally a little bit colder this morning than we have been out the door. Futurecast, that area on radar I just showed you, does hold it together. Here we are in the 8 o'clock hour, producing what could be some light snow moving through Portland. Now, there it is at 10 o'clock. Later today, we're certainly back up into the 40s, more of what we've been seeing, which would be scattered showers, some breaks leading to hail, and maybe a rumble of thunder. 48 today. Tomorrow we get up to 50. Rain picks up during the day. Really rainy, steady rain. Overnight into Friday, could be 3/4 of an inch come down. Saturday's fairly dry. Rain picks back up on Sunday, and that's your forecast.
Okay, thank you, Rod. Coming up, we're visiting West Sylvan Middle School. We sat down with students and a counselor there to get a sense of how teens are feeling this year and what's being done to help their mental health and well-being. It's the third installment of our 5-part series, Counseled, Inside Our Schools. Stay with us.